Hi, welcome to a complete beginner's yoga class. So this is going to be part of a series of classes that is designed for people that have got no knowledge, no understanding of any sort of yoga practice, but equally if it's someone who maybe used to practice yoga and had an injury or have been unwell or generally been a little bit static or there's been a bit of lack of movement in your life recently, this is a great place for you to start introducing some of that stretching, mobility, movement back into your daily routine, your weekly routine. So as I said, this is designed for anyone. As a yoga teacher, I often hear people say, I'm too inflexible to start yoga, I'm too overweight, I'm too old. None of that matters. None of that should stop you from having access to the movement, the benefits of the movement, the benefits of the breath that yoga can bring into your life. All you need, don't worry if you don't have a yoga mat, you can use a towel, a blanket, anything that is a little bit more comfortable than the floor. Even if you've got carpets in your home, you can just do it straight on that. Equally, if you find being ground level really uncomfortable, you can grab a chair, and when sitting on the floor becomes too much or it's just not working out for you, go ahead and sit on the chair, work on the upper body. We're going to be doing a lot of breathing and upper body stretching too, so don't let that put you off. Other things I'm going to be using throughout these classes is going to be, I have a yoga block. You don't need a yoga block, but have a little look at this. It's sort of like a big hardback book. So anything similar to that you might have lying around the house, a box, a tin, but try and have it quite sturdy because we might be bearing a little bit of weight on it. Another thing I might be using is a strap. Again, do not worry if you don't have a yoga strap. There's plenty of things in pretty much every household that can be used instead. So a dressing gown towel, a tie, even a scarf, basically something that is sturdy and that we can use to sort of help get into stretches, especially when we can't quite reach our feet. Final thing, or final two things, to make things a little bit more comfortable, you might have a sort of folded up blanket and maybe some cushions around, just to soften things up. And when I suggest poses you might feel a little bit uncomfortable, you might just put a little cushion underneath instead. Great, so once you've run around and got all of that stuff, we will begin. We're going to start in a seated position. I'm going to go for cross-legged. If you like kneeling, go ahead kneel. If cross-legged is really uncomfortable, you might want to grab the block or the cushion or something that you might have just grabbed, even a rolled up blanket, maybe 2, 3 cushions, 4 cushions, whatever you need to find a position, because often the knees will be up high. We want to try and get the knees lower than the hips. If sitting on the floor doesn't work for you, grab a chair, sit down on your chair. Wherever you are, chair, floor, whatever's going on, try not to be leaning back onto anything. We want to think about lengthening through the spine. So once you've got yourself nice and comfortable, or as comfortable as you can be, I know floor-based work can sometimes be a little bit uncomfortable, especially to begin with. We're going to close our eyes. If closing your eyes doesn't work today, just take a gentle gaze down towards the floor in front of you. From here, we're going to place one hand onto our heart, or the heart space, so somewhere in the center of the chest, and the other hand onto the stomach, so around the tummy button, somewhere that it sort of reaches or rests comfortably. And as we sit here, we're going to just start to feel, without changing anything, without trying to do anything, just feel how your breath is in your body today. So without attempting to change anything, without trying to turn your breath into something you think you should be doing, just observe it. And then let's gently start to deepen the breath. So nothing crazy, just seeing if you can lengthen each inhalation and each exhalation. And often you will hear yoga teachers say, how does your breath feel today? And often that's quite a difficult question to answer. And so by placing our hands physically on our body, you're going to be able to feel the sensations physically. So as you inhale, see what expansion you feel beneath the hands. As you exhale, see what release or what shrinking, what sort of falling back in you feel. And if you can, breathe in and out through your nose. And we're going to gently introduce our Ujjayi breath. And the best way to understand your Ujjayi breath is to take a big breath in through the nose. And then open the mouth and breathe out of the mouth as if you're trying to steam up a window or a mirror. So do that a couple more times, in through the nose. Open the mouth and breathe out as if you were steaming up a window or a mirror. Let's do that once more. And then we're going to start to breathe, make this sound, but in and out through your nose. So you slightly constrict the back of your throat to make that oceanic, so that sound almost like waves lapping up on the beach, in and out through your nose. Don't worry if it's not too loud to begin with. And as you start breathing like this, start to feel your hands, they might move a little bit more as you step into a full body breath. So the full body breath means that you're not just breathing into your chest, you're not just breathing into your stomach, you're using the whole of the upper body to breathe. Feel that expansion of the ribcage. And especially if you've never taken an Ujjayi breath before, you might feel a little bit self-conscious or a little bit uncomfortable making a loud sound. Don't worry about that. Just do what you can do. The beauty of this online yoga is that really no one is watching, no one is listening. And now that we've got a rhythm of this full body breath, I want you to really try and focus on that as we take some gentle movements. So releasing your hands onto your lap or your knees. You can choose here, if you keep the eyes closed, if that feels good, by all means. If you maybe want to peek at what we're doing, open them up, again, that is totally fine too. So we're going to work into the neck nice and gently to begin with. Let your head hang heavy, so chin comes towards the chest. You might start feeling things straight away at the sort of bottom of the neck, the top of the back. And then we're going to take some rotations with the head. So nice and slowly let the right ear fall towards the right shoulder. And then slowly let that head tilt backwards. Keep breathing as you do this. So notice as your focus moves what happens to your breath. And then the left ear slowly comes towards the left shoulder. And then rolling back through center once more, chin is towards the chest. We're going to take a few more rounds like this at your own speed, your own pace, but keep the movement as slow as possible. Notice if your shoulders are trying to get involved, and try and keep the shoulders as still, as relaxed as possible. And as you move like this, you might hear a bit of clicking, a bit of cracking, especially if you haven't moved your neck very much recently. And that's a great sign. It's great to hear those things be released. And maybe you find a spot where things feel really tight, really tender, and you just pause there and breathe. Think about sending that Ujjayi breath to wherever it is that you're feeling this pose. Let's take one more rotation in this direction, or one more movement, whatever you are doing. And when you have finished it, meeting back in center with that chin hanging heavy towards the chest. And let's then go the other way, so rolling your head all the way the other direction. Again, noticing where most of your tension is. If one direction feels a little bit tighter than the other. And maybe visualize a pencil coming out of the crown of the head, and you're trying to draw a really big, really accurate circle up on the ceiling above you. Notice how big you can make this circle. And then we'll complete the rotation that we're on nice and slowly. There's absolutely no rush. Meeting back in center, chin towards the chest. And then slowly, slowly, slowly lifting the head all the way back up to center. Great work. You might notice that there's already been a shift in how you're feeling and what's going on. And then we're going to just sit up tall here. If you need to give your legs a little break, maybe lean back, shake them out. If you're still on your chair, by all means stay there. Next thing we're going to do is think about our seat bones. So think about the parts of you that are connected with the mat, so especially the seat bones. Think about pressing them down, and as you do this, think about the spine reaching up and the crown of the head lifting tall. So it's this line of energy pressing down and lifting up. We're sitting up nice and tall. With that line of energy, that strength, that stability. Keep the shoulders nice and still, and we're just going to look all the way towards our right. So looking over that right shoulder, keeping the shoulders still. Maybe you can look so far right that you can see a little bit behind you. Maybe not, don't worry if not. And then we'll come back to center. And then nice and slowly all the way over towards your left. Maybe so much towards the left that it's slightly behind you. Check back in with your breath. It's amazing how quickly you forget about it. Slowly, slowly come back to center. We're going to do that once more on each side. So looking all the way over towards your right. And slowly, slowly coming back to center, all the way towards your left. You might notice the second time we do this that you feel like there's a little bit more space. And then let's slowly come back to center. Great work, everyone. From here, we're going to make our way onto all fours. So take any transition you need. If you were sitting on cushions, blocks, chair, if you are able to come and meet us on the floor, hands below shoulders, knees are hip width apart. So we're in our tabletop position. Press the hands down into the floor. Press the tops of the feet into the floor. And we're going to take a couple of rounds of cat and cow. So don't worry if you have no idea what that is. I'm going to talk you through it nice and slowly. So we're going to come into our cow pose. Slowly start to drop the stomach. So think about reaching the tummy button down. As you do this, lift your tailbone, lift your chest, and lift your gaze. So this is your cow pose. And then we're going to reverse this. So tuck the tailbone, round the spine, press the earth away, and bring the chin towards the chest. Let's do that again. So taking that cow pose, drop the stomach, lift the tailbone, lift the chest, lift the gaze. And then we reverse it, tuck the tailbone around the spine, chin tucks in towards the chest. We're going to do a couple more rounds, but we're going to add in some breathing. So this time as you come into your cow pose, let's take an inhale. So start to inhale as you drop the stomach, lift the tailbone, lift the chest, lift the gaze. As you exhale, you're curling, you're tucking the tailbone, press the earth away, chin comes towards the chest. 2 more rounds. Inhale, arching. Lift the tailbone, lift the gaze. Exhale, we round, tuck the tailbone, round the spine, chin towards the chest. Last round like this. Inhale, we arch. And exhale, we round. And then nice and slowly coming back to a neutral spine, we're going to bring our big toes together to touch. Open your knees nice and wide. So as wide as you can, maybe as wide as the mat, maybe not quite that wide. And then you're going to sink your hips back towards your heels as far as you can. Walk your hands forwards and try and get your forehead on the floor. If your forehead is miles away from the floor, again, you might want to grab that block, that cushion, anything that you have so that your forehead is resting on something. If your hips are miles away from your heels, again, maybe cushion it up. Place a cushion in there because this is our child's pose, which is a resting pose. And it might not feel like a resting pose just yet. But really allow your body to feel heavy here, feel relaxed. And take a few of those lovely, deep, full body Ujjayi breaths. So you might notice now that the face is down, now there's a little bit less room to breathe. It might feel a bit more restrictive. But do your best and maybe start to focus on breathing into the back body. So the back of the lungs, the back of the rib cage. And staying here, we're going to take a big sigh. So take a big breath in through the nose. Open the mouth and just sigh it out. Once more like that. Big breath in. Slowly, slowly lift yourself back up onto all fours. From here, we're going to make our way into a forward fold. So we're going to step our right foot forwards first, followed by our left foot. So any transition you need to get into a forward fold position, feet are at least hip width apart, but if it feels good to go wider, maybe mat width apart, go ahead. But keep them parallel to each other. If the hands are miles away from the floor, don't worry about it. Take a generous bend in the knees and then let the head hang heavy. So again, it's that sensation of tucking the chin towards the chest. Grab opposite hand to opposite elbow here. So this is our ragdoll pose. Allowing the weight of the upper body to really start to open up through the backs of the legs, maybe the lower back a little bit. It might feel nice to take a gentle bounce or a gentle sway from side to side. And keep that deep breath going, that ujjayi breath going. And we're going to release the hands. Keep the bend or keep the softness in the knees. You can keep a big bend in the knees if you want to. We're going to slowly, slowly roll all the way up to standing. So one vertebrae at a time, coming all the way up to your standing position. Great. So feet are hip width apart. We're going to focus on the feet a little bit from here. So hands come alongside the body, palms facing forwards. This is our mountain pose, Tadasana. So think about pressing the feet down and then run your awareness up your body. So squeeze the muscles in the legs. Spread the fingers wide. Let the shoulder blades sink down the spine. From here, take a little look down at your toes and see if you can lift your 10 toes off the floor. They might not lift very high or they might feel quite easy to lift them, but do your best. And then once they're lifted, see if you can spread them out. So making it a bigger space, like we spread our fingers, see if you can spread your toes. And then with the spread toes, see if you can lower them back down onto the mat one at a time. It's pretty difficult. Let's do that again. So relax the toes, relax the feet. Lift the 10 toes, spread them out nice and wide, and then lower them down onto the floor one at a time. Great. So there should be a bigger gap in between the toes. Some of them might not have spread out quite as much. And then relax them down. I'm going to do a little bit of balancing from here. So if you have a wall near you, feel free to grab hold of your wall. But we're not going to be doing too much. So we're going to lift up onto our tippy toes. And then lower back down. So nice and gentle. Lift up. Feel some clicking, some cracking. And lower down. We're going to add some breath. So inhale, lift up. Exhale, we lower down. 2 more. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, lowering down. Last one. Inhale, we lift up and hold it here for 3, for 2, for 1. Slowly lower down. Great work. Maybe lifting up onto one foot and just rotating that right ankle, so pressing the left foot down. Just rotate that right ankle a couple of times. Swapping sides, so lifting the left foot up, rotate the ankle a couple of times. Great. If you've moved like me, step back to the top of the mat, and we're just going to inhale, reach the arms up nice and tall. Maybe look up. And then as you exhale, nice and slowly, keep the knees a little bit bent. We fold all the way forwards. We're going to bend the knees enough that we can reach onto the floor and just step back into that tabletop position. So back into your all fours. From here, we're just going to reach the right foot back. So the ball of the right foot places on the floor behind you. And press down and back with the hands. So actually down and forwards with the hands. So you feel a stretch through the sole of that right foot and also the calf muscle. Let's just take 2 deep breaths here. And then releasing back, tabletop. Let's do that on the other side. So reaching the left foot back, ball of the left foot touches the floor. Again, press the hands down and forwards as you reach that left heel backwards. Great work. Coming back onto your hands and knees, and then we're going to make our way onto our backs from here. So any transition that you need, just nice and gently, we're going to come all the way to lying on our backs. From here, place both feet flat on the floor and have them about hip width apart. And then from here, we're going to place our right ankle over our left thigh. And we're looking for a hip opener here. So for some of you, staying like this, you're going to feel pretty uncomfortable, pretty much the stretch that we're looking for. For others of you, if you want more, see if you can reach and grab your fingers underneath your left thigh. If you want more, but you can't interlace your fingers behind you, great time to grab that strap. So it might feel nice to loop that strap underneath the left thigh and pull back on it. So you want to think about pulling your left knee in towards you. And without touching it, without pressing it, in your mind, you're guiding the right knee towards the sort of back of your mat. If you can, keep both feet flexed here. And even if this is quite uncomfortable, quite intense, see if you can really focus on your breath. Often when we find tension in parts of our body or we find a stretch, that tension spreads into other places. So check in with the shoulders, the forehead, the jaw, and just remind yourself that whatever you don't need to hold on to, whatever you don't need to tense here, you can just release. Nice and gently letting go. If you use the strap, place it to one side. Place both feet onto the floor, hip width apart again, and just gently sway the knees from side to side. And we're going to do that exact same thing on the other side. So setting yourself up, both feet flat to the floor. Left ankle comes over right thigh. Choose, if you've got a lot going on here, just stay exactly where you are. Another option is to interlace your fingers underneath your right thigh. Third option is to grab hold of that strap or whatever you had if you want to go for a bit further but your hands don't quite reach, or you're sort of lifting your head up. So you want to keep your head and shoulders on the floor. So maybe using the strap to pull that right knee back towards you. And so what we're looking for here is a stretch through the left glutes, the left hip. But you might get it in other places too. And when we go for these sort of specific area stretches like we are right now, don't worry if you do get it in other places, but notice what you're holding onto, notice what you're tensing. And here we want our shoulders relaxed on the floor, our head relaxed on the floor. And then just guiding your awareness, your attention to breathing in and out. We're going to release this side. So again, placing the strap to one side, both feet come onto the floor. This time we're going to bring the soles of the feet together to touch and let the knees open wide. Reach your hands up above overhead so they're on the floor behind you. And even though the lower spine, you'll feel it lifting off the floor, try and have the spine as neutral as possible. And try and let the knees just fall out towards the sides. If this feels quite intense in the upper inner thighs, you might want to place cushions underneath the thighs, underneath the knees. But we're not going to be here for too long, so see if you can just sit with it for a little bit longer. Coming back to that full body breath, always reminding yourself, it doesn't matter if your whole practice is about reminding yourself to breathe. That is part of the practice. Noticing when the mind goes off to other places and then gently guiding it back. Nice and slowly bring your knees together to touch. You might even use your hands to guide your knees together, and then bring your knees in towards your chest and give yourself a nice big squeeze. So really pull the knees in as much as you can. Maybe take a gentle rock from side to side, just massaging the lower back. From here, we're going to straighten the right leg out on the mat. Keep that right knee in towards the chest. And then we're going to let the right knee fall towards the left. So we're coming into a twist. As you let it fall, try and keep both of your shoulders on the floor. Right arm opens towards the right, gaze is towards the right. If this right knee and ankle is miles away from the floor, you might want to place a cushion, a few cushions underneath it to support it. But what we're looking for is a twist through the lower spine, maybe through the mid-spine a little bit here. Notice if this right shoulder starts creeping up, and try and position yourself so that both shoulders are grounding down. And then let's come back through center. And we'll swap sides. So straightening that right leg on the mat, hug the left knee in. Give it a little squeeze. And then let that left knee fall towards the right. Reach the left arm over towards the left and gaze towards the left too. Again, check in if this left knee is miles off the floor, maybe grab some cushions, some blocks, bolster it up. Try your hardest to have both shoulders relax down towards the floor. And as we twist, we take quite a lot of twist in our yoga practice. Notice how the breath feels. So it sometimes feels a little bit more challenging to breathe deeply, but do your very best to find a deep inhalation and exhalation here. And then we come back through center, straighten both legs out on the mat. And we're going to come to a lying down pose called Shavasana, which is our final resting pose. So in every yoga practice, we always finish with a little bit of stillness, a little moment to let the practice sink into the body. So have the palms facing the ceiling, open the arms up, let the feet fall open and close the eyes. Just allowing those movements, those stretches to really sink into the body. No, there's nowhere else you need to be right now, nothing else you need to be doing. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Open your mouth and sigh it out. Bring some movement to your fingers and your toes. And then reach your arms up overhead, take a full body stretch. Nice and slowly make your way up to a seated position. So you can roll onto the side, you can transition any way you like. Come up to seated kneeling, your legs can be out in front of you, whatever works best. Bring your hands together at heart center and close down the eyes. Just taking a moment to show a bit of gratitude for making the time in your day-to-day to focus on yourself. It's not something that we often get to do, but say a little thank you, a little bit of gratitude for allowing yourself that time. With that thought of gratitude, of lightness in your body, lift your thumb knuckles up to your forehead center. And together we bow forwards and we say, Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed your practice. If that was your first ever yoga practice, congratulations, well done. There's going to be a few more videos like this, so working at a slower pace, but getting in some quite good stretches. Of course, if you are new to the practice, if you have any questions, any specific requirements, do let me know. Otherwise, I hope to see you again soon. Thank you.